Good Monday morning, and thank you for joining us here on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Jason Hackett. Let's get right to your headlines. Christmas is less than 2 days away, and this morning we're making a list and checking it twice for all the last-minute travel tips you should know, starting with Audrey Russo. She's got a closer look at what's happening in the skies.
Things are looking great here at MSP. They've got that great weather energy. Everybody's happy. Everybody's in a good mood. They know that there's not a lot of cancellations today. When I last checked, there were only 2, according to FlightAware, and it's less than 5 minutes through Terminal 1's TSA. So good vibes all around. And honestly, this is a really good setup for the busiest time at MSP that we're expecting to see. More than 50,000 people will pass through TSA on December 26th. And then rinse and repeat. Going to do it all over again on December 28th with another 50,000 people expected here at the airport. And that is according to airport reps. Now, this is just the airport, right? A lot of people are still traveling by car. Of the 122 million people expected to travel during this holiday season, 90% of them are going in cars. All of this is to say, though, there's a lot of people who are going to be leaving their homes, getting together with family, and you want to make sure that your mind is at ease. So we've actually come up with a little checklist on how to prepare your home before you head out for vacation. Take a look at this. The first thing you should do, experts say, is check your furnace filters to make sure they're not too dirty. You also want to make sure that you are cleaning some of the debris away from your gutters. Also, check your furnace exhaust pipe for snow clogs, because you want to make sure that some of those dangerous gases aren't getting trapped in your house, that they're able to escape. And also, lower your thermostat. You're not home, you don't care, right? Lower your thermostat to save money, but experts say you want to make sure that you don't lower it too cold. You don't want to get really much below 55 degrees because then you could run into some freezing pipes. But, you know, it's important just to make sure that your house is prepared so you can come to the airport, have fun, go on your flight, see your family, and have a great holiday season. Back to you.
Audrey, thank you. We have new numbers into the newsroom this morning of gas prices for those hitting the road this week. The average across the state has gone down to $2.67. That's about $40 to fill up your tank. The price at the pump will be a little higher than that in the cities, but if you're heading to the Dakotas and can wait, you're going to find gas prices there closer to $2.51 a gallon. The man convicted twice of masterminding a plot to kill a Minneapolis realtor is behind bars this morning and will stay there for the rest of his life. Morgan Wolf was in the courtroom and has the very latest.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We are on the record in state of Minnesota versus Lyndon Wiggins.
9 days shy of the 6-year mark of Monique Baugh's murder, the man found guilty of orchestrating it all is sentenced to life in prison.
Imagine being on your way to church while you're heading there, your cousin kidnapped, riding around in the back of a U-Haul truck.
Prosecutors say that Baugh was a victim of retaliation against her boyfriend, who once worked with Lyndon Wiggins in the music industry. Wiggins asked Elsa Segura to lure the real estate agent to a phony house showing in Maple Grove. There, authorities say that Baugh was kidnapped by Cedric Berry and Barry Davis. Then she was tortured and killed.
We have to ask God to forgive us for not being able to forgive what was done to Monique. But I do believe some things are unforgivable, and the way that Monique was ambushed, kidnapped, tortured, and murdered was one of them.
Baugh's mom, Wanda, sharing her heartbreak at the sentencing.
Saying life is hard without Monique is an understatement. These days, there's days where it feels unbearable. It's heartbreaking to watch 2 little girls wonder what it would be like to have their mother with them.
Baugh's mom cares for her 2 daughters.
You know, Monique didn't get a chance to see her youngest legacy take her first steps.
Saying they keep her going, and they have throughout all 4 cases.
The trials, appeals, post-conviction relief requests are all reminders of how self-serving these people truly are.
After 5 years of a revolving courtroom door, the legal process finally coming to a close.
All we want now is for this defendant and all others involved to spend the rest of their lives in prison and then burn in hell after.
Cedric Berry and Barry Davis are serving life sentences as well. Elsa Segura was initially sentenced to life as well. However, her murder conviction was overturned by the state Supreme Court after they found the jury didn't have correct instructions and prosecutors didn't have enough evidence. She was resentenced last year to 20 years after pleading guilty to kidnapping. ICE raids are continuing across Minnesota, with the latest Homeland Security numbers reporting more than 400 arrests. This morning, Governor Walz will join local community leaders to talk about the increased presence of ICE and the safety of people in our communities. The governor's office gave us a heads up last night about this event, saying it's about federal immigration enforcement, quote, amid an increased ICE presence and targeting of U.S. citizens in Minnesota. Governor Walz has raised the alarm in recent weeks, saying some people were arrested while documenting ICE activity or going about their lives. He cited those examples in a letter to the DHS secretary, which he wrote and released. The letter starts like this. Dear Secretary Noem, the forcefulness, lack of communication, and unlawful practices displayed by your agents will not be tolerated in Minnesota. Russia fired more than 650 drones and 36 missiles at targets across Ukraine in a large-scale attack today. Ukrainian officials said that at least 3 people were killed, including a 4-year-old child. That attack comes after a car bomb killed a Russian general on Monday, the third such killing of a senior military officer in just over a year, which Russia blamed on Ukraine. NBC's Molly Hunter reports from London.
Overnight, there was a massive Russian drone and missile attack on Ukraine across the country just 2 days before Christmas. The Ukrainian military says Russia fired more than 630 drones, 36 missiles overnight. The attack lasted into the daylight hours of this morning. At least 3 people were killed, including a 4-year-old child, according to Ukrainian officials, adding the wide-scale attack struck civilian homes and the power grid in 13 different regions of Ukraine. But this is a hallmark of Russian attacks at this time of year, targeting critical infrastructure during those bitter, freezing winter days in Ukraine. Now, this comes after a high-ranking Russian general was killed in a car bomb in Moscow yesterday. Russian officials have blamed Ukraine. Now, also yesterday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky described progress on finding a peace deal as, quote, quite solid. Well, today, the Ukrainian president has said this kind of attack is crystal clear, shows Russia's priorities. He said a strike before Christmas when people want to be with their families at home in safety, a strike, in fact, in the midst of negotiations that are being conducted to end this war. He says Putin cannot accept the fact that we must stop the killing. Molly Hunter, NBC News, London.
President Donald Trump has for months been pressing for a peace agreement, but the negotiations have been entangled in the very different demands from Moscow and Kyiv. So on Sunday, U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff said he held productive and constructive talks in Florida with Ukrainian and European representatives. Trump was less effusive Monday, saying the talks are going along.
We cannot accept an either-or solution to our contract. We need to be able to afford to maintain our own living while we work for our students.
Developing this morning, a strike date has officially been set for teachers in the state's largest school district. Anoka and Hennepin filed their intent to strike starting on January 8th. Hundreds of teachers rallied before last night's school board meeting. The union is fighting for a raise and higher contributions to health insurance costs. The district says resources are limited right now as they work on a $22 million budget deficit and unfunded mandates like paid leave. The two sides have met 8 times now, and right now there are no more mediation sessions on the books. A popular weight loss drug will soon come in a pill option. The FDA has now approved a daily pill of the drug Wegovy. It's the first pill of a GLP-1 medication approved for weight loss. Right now, patients must get weekly shots of the drug. The initial cost of the Wegovy pill is expected to go at around $150 for people paying out of pocket. The drug's maker, Novo Nordisk, says the pill should be available for prescriptions in January. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.